This video is not financial advice. I am not a financial planner. I'm an entertainer. The one, the only ape father in the house. Ooh, let me make him do it. One of my favorite rock bands, rock and roll bands, is ACDC. They're like the best of the best. You know what I mean? They're like, you can't get better than ACDC, man. And, I never really knew the story how, like, Brian Johnson, we know that Bon Scott, may he rest in peace, like he passed away, unfortunately. But the thing was, they were playing in colleges. See, Brian Johnson was in like this kind of band that was unknown. ACDC was the more popular college band, but they were playing the same circuits, right? From what I was reading. And Bon Scott liked the way Brian Johnson sang, So he always told the band, you know what I mean? He said, listen, this is a good singer, man. This guy, Brian Johnson. But he didn't say it in any, like, lead singers you wouldn't think would do that because it's like, they don't want to give up their gig, They don't want their band looking at a new lead singer. But, they would have never got rid of Bon Scott, unfortunately, God bless him. May he rest in peace, one of the greatest rock singers in history. He passed away. What happened was when he passed away, they remembered the band, ACDC, Angus Young, he remembered. He was like, yeah, who's that guy? Brian Johnson. Remember, like, Bon Scott used to talk about him, And what happened was, I guess they had some sort of a German representative, maybe from their record company. So this German lady, she, like, had this very, like, I can't do a German accent, But she called up Brian Johnson, like, you must come to Germany, And I'm sorry, it was actually London. You must come to London right away. And he was like, who is this? She says, I represent one of the most popular rock bands. And you have chance for audition. You have chance for audition. And he's like, but what's the band? He's like, I guess where he lived, it was like 6 or 8 hours away. And he was like in Newcastle or something. So it was like to get to like London, it was like 6 hours or something. It's like, I'm not just going to come to London. What's the name of the band? Give me a hint. I give you a hint. The band's initials start ACDC. Oh my God, she says I said too much. ACDC. Okay. So he went down there, and it was funny because at this point of his life, he was in his like mid-30s. He was still living with his parents. He said it himself. He said, I was like a loser. I was a bum. I had no money. I had no job. I was in my 30s living with my parents. He started, I guess, an automotive business. He loves cars, Brian Johnson. And the first song he wrote for ACDC, I might even do that one later today, Shook Me All Night Long. And it's funny because he's referencing a car as a lady. Like he's kind of using the analogy of a car and a lady. And the record companies kind of thought he was talking about a car, They're like, what is this car? She's a fast machine. She keeps the motor clean, He's like, it's just, I'm using it's an analogy. It's about a woman. It's not a car, but I'm using the car as a reference. So that was his first big, ACDC's big breakout album was Back in Black. And, my God, what an album that was. Like the most amazing. You got Hell's Bells, Shook Me All Night Long, Back in Black. I mean, Have a Drink on Me. It's just so many songs that are amazing. It's just, what an amazing rock and roll album. And Shook Me All Night Long. So it's funny. So he's in the studio with the band, Brian Johnson, and he's listening to Shook Me All Night Long, and he's like, something, he says, mate, he's like, this might just as well be the greatest rock and roll song in history. And they're all like, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? So the rest was history, man. He went on to become a rock and roll giant, a rock and roll legend, man. ACDC, they do the famous, what this is, right? This is the devil, they're famous for the devil horns. This became very big in rock and roll. What you're supposed to do, right, is someone, like if you're with a friend, right? So one guy's supposed to do this, and another guy's supposed to do this, and you got to combine them like this. That's the heavy metal, ACDC, rock and roll handshake. So once again, see, one hand is the other hand. I'm educating you, see? You go like this. Okay, AMC to Pluto.